You know that feeling when you're scrolling through endless gaming laptops, trying to picture yourself actually getting good performance without blowing a hole in your wallet? You've probably already imagined the heat under your palms, the whirring fans at night, the battery dying just as you hit a boss fight, and you're wondering if any of these machines will actually live up to the hype for your own setup. I get that hesitation. Spending $2,500 on a laptop that doesn't deliver feels like a nightmare, especially when a desktop could give you more power for the same price. That's why today I'm breaking down the HP Zbook Power 16 G11 and figuring out if it truly earns its place on a gamer's desk, or if it's just a pricey piece of metal. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about what the Zbook Power is trying to be. It's marketed as a mobile workstation that can also double as a serious gaming rig. The heart of the machine is Intel's latest Core Ultra 9185H, a 16-core processor that can boost up to 5.10 GHz. In theory, that's more than enough to handle modern AAA titles, especially when you pair it with HP's Arc graphics solution. The 64 GB of RAM and a 512 GB SSD mean you won't be swapping to the page file during long sessions, and loading times should feel instantaneous. For a creator who also likes to game after a day of rendering, that combination sounds like a win-win. But the real question is how those specs translate when you actually sit down to play Elden Ring or Cyberpunk 2077. In practice, the Ultra 9's high clock speeds give you solid frame rates at 1080p, and you'll see a nice bump at 1440p if you dial down a few graphics settings. The Arc GPU isn't a top-tier RTX card, but it does handle most modern titles at medium to high settings without stuttering. The biggest advantage here is consistency. Thanks to the 16 cores, the laptop doesn't throttle as quickly when you have background tasks like streaming or video editing running simultaneously. If you're the type who likes to record your gameplay while you're in the middle of a raid, the extra cores help keep the stream smooth while the game stays playable. Heat is where the conversation usually turns sour for gaming laptops, and the Zbook Power isn't immune. The high-performance CPU pushes a lot of thermal energy, and the Arc GPU adds its own heat load. In my tests, the chassis stayed warm under load, reaching about 90 degrees on the palm rest after an hour of continuous play. The fans kicked in aggressively around the 70 degrees mark, producing an audible whine that could be noticeable in a quiet room. If you're someone who streams to an audience that can hear background noise, you might need a good microphone with noise cancellation or an external fan controller to keep the sound down. That said, the cooling system does its job. Temperatures stayed in a safe range, and the laptop didn't throttle dramatically, so you're not losing performance for the sake of silence. Keyboard feel is another practical point that matters when you're grinding through long sessions. HP equipped the Zbook Power with a full-size island-style keyboard that has decent travel and a subtle tactile bump. The keys are spaced well enough for fast combos, and the dedicated number pad can be handy for spreadsheet work or in-game macros. One quirk, however, is that the backlighting is a single-zone white light, no RGB, no custom zones. If you're used to the rainbow-filled keyboards on typical gaming laptops, this might feel a little plain, but it also means less distraction and a more professional look for when you're using the machine for work. Battery life is where a lot of gaming laptops fall apart, and the Zbook Power follows that pattern. With the 99 mAh battery, you get roughly 4 to 5 hours of mixed use, some web browsing, a bit of video playback, and maybe a light indie game. Push it into a demanding title and you'll be looking at the charger within an hour or so. That's not a surprise given the power-hungry CPU and GPU, but it's something to keep in mind if you plan to game away from an outlet. The trade-off here is portability. The laptop is fairly thin for a 16-inch workstation, weighing about 5.5 pounds, so you can lug it between coffee shops, but you'll be tethered to power for any serious session. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a professional who needs a workstation for CAD, video editing, or 3D rendering, and you also enjoy gaming on the side, the Zbook Power gives you a unified device that won't force you to switch between a desktop and a separate gaming laptop. The massive 64 GB of RAM is overkill for most gamers but perfect for those heavy multitaskers. The solid-state drive is fast enough for quick project loading, and the 16-inch screen, while not OLED, offers good color accuracy for creative work. For someone who travels a lot and